The 90-day Superstar Speaker Challenge event is a group mentorship program that I've been running over the summer with a number of business owners who understand the value and the economy of scale of being able to have one conversation about their business with 20 to 50 people, as opposed to having 20 to 50 one-to-one conversations. The 90-day Superstar Speaker Challenge has been run by me. My name is David Roylance. I'm a leadership coach. I'm one of the UK's top voice and body language specialists. And what I have is a small number of one-to-one clients who I work with, who typically tend to be women in senior roles. I work with men as well, but they tend to be the more spiritual and the more, what I call, the conscious man. Often a similar story comes my way from the women who I work with. And that story is, do you know what, David, here I am, I'm pretty senior, I'm sitting in those meetings, and I open my mouth, and when I finished, I'm thinking, can anyone see me? Am I actually here? And so what they get from working with me, because that makes them feel pretty undervalued in the role that they're in, and what they get from me are the skills and the techniques that allow them not just to be seen and heard, but to shine whilst they're doing it. So that they can step into the promotion that they want, so they can step into being the department expert the way they want to be perceived, so they can step into the life that they actually want to have. And if I may, I'll tell you a story about a client who I worked with at the Royal Bank of Scotland, because I think this kind of it illustrates really the kind of interventions that we end up doing together. About 14 years ago, and I was subcontracting for somebody else at the time, I was called by the Royal Bank of Scotland, and they said, you know what, we need to promote a woman because we need to be seen to be modern. And they said, we've got a woman in mind, we'd really like to promote her, but there's a problem, because every time she steps up to represent the company in a public space, she faints. It's embarrassing for us, they said, it's embarrassing for her. And she'd worked with a number of coaches already, all of whom had concentrated on the content and getting her comfortable with the content. But she and I began working together, and what I noticed immediately is every time she stood out of her chair, or even thought about standing up to do a presentation, she did this. And she held it, and she held her breath until her own brain went, no, I'm terribly sorry, I am going to have to knock you out so that you start breathing again. So for us, the relationship was all about her learning how to breathe whilst under duress. And when she knew how to breathe whilst under duress, guess what? It turned out she was a brilliant speaker. And guess what? It turned out not only was she a brilliant speaker, but she really loved doing it. That meant that she volunteered to do 3 times more than was absolutely necessary in her role. That meant people started noticing her in a completely different way and touching each other on the invisible arm. Feel like this, oh, you better promote her. So she was promoted within 6 months of our working together onto the board. And the moment that she was offered the role, she turned to me and said, you know what, David, the work that we have been doing is the difference that made the difference, that allowed all the rest to happen. Does that give you a sense of the kind of intervention that happens in a one-to-one relationship? Today, we're celebrating a group of people who got together with me over the summer. We've been working together to create confident calling card presentations for them and their business. Tonight, you're going to see 4 people from the group who I've been working with over the summer who've chosen to take advantage of this opportunity. And this is an opportunity for them, for the first time, to put their new techniques and their new skills into action in front of what I hope is a friendly audience tonight. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your support. What I think might be useful, let me ask you, who in this room would like to know how to use your voice to be more influential with the people who you are talking to? Can I have a show of hands? Who thinks that it would be useful to be able to use your voice to be more influential with the people you are talking to? Fantastic. Then, since I'm standing up here in front of you, shall I give you a little something? Shall I?
Yes.
Yes? Now, you see, you're working here today with someone who trained at drama school for 3 years. I went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama back in 1990. I went there with Daniel Craig, with Ewan McGregor, with Damien Lewis, people who did really well, and then I chose to become really good at doing this. Yes? But you see, I'm an old panto specialist myself. So when I say, shall we do something, I'm expecting the panto reaction from the audience. Who would like a free tip on how to use your voice to be influential with the people who you are talking to? Yes, you would! Good, that's more like it. Lovely. This is going to involve everyone standing up and doing something for a little moment. Are you ready? Some of you may know this, in which case, let's play. There are 3 areas of the voice in which we are particularly interested in. The first is down here in the lower notes. This is what I call the warrior voice. This is the voice of credibility. This is the voice that you use when you deliver instruction. You may remember this voice saying things to you like, on my desk, 3:30, no excuses. This is the voice that I use when I've run a bath for my children and I want them to get in. Guess what? They get in. This is the way that we're going to access a little warrior voice. Okay? I'm going to ask you to get a nice wide stance like this going on here. And you're going to put a fist just in front of your stomach here and a fist right behind. Get those knees feeling up down a little bit. Just get a little bit of balance going on. Lovely. You're doing beautifully. What we're all going to do together is this. You're going to take a lovely deep breath into the stomach, and as you exhale, you will go, aha! Just like that. Okay? And by the way, before we go any further, what happens in this room tonight stays in this room, apart from the stuff that's on the camera. Are we ready, everybody?
Yes.
After 3, deep breath in and aha in your finest warrior voice. 1, 2, 3. Aha! Okay, so I'm the Panto King. How do you think I feel about that? Do you reckon you could do better?
Yes.
Yes, good. You are correct, everybody. And again, deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, and oh, can you feel that warrior?
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic. Super. The second part of the voice that we're most interested in is the heart voice. That happens up here. These are the higher notes in the voice, the ones that we use for approachability. This is the voice that we use when we're interested in people. This is the voice that we use when we want to welcome people into our lives. This is where we go when we say, would you like a cup of tea? Do come in. To access your heart voice, here we go. This time, we start here. And we take a nice breath in that opens up the rib cage. And as we exhale, we do, aha! After 3. 1, 2, 3. Aha! Lovely, beautiful. Do you reckon we could do better doing it a second time?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Aha! Lovely. It's fantastic. It's great, very powerful to be able to get an entire room of people to go, aha! Within moments of meeting them all together. Lovely. And then there's the really high notes in the voice, the head voice, which is when you want to get people really enthused. This is where children go when they're trying to avoid doing stuff that you want them to do. They're distracting you. But in business, we can use this to enthuse large numbers of people. And the way that we get the head voice going is to put the fingers here, take a breath in, and we go, bing! I thought you'd like it. After 3, 1, 2, 3, bing! Bing! 1, 2, 3, bing! Superb! So now you've warmed up all 3 areas of your voice. So you know that when you want to be credible and when you want to deliver instruction, you can go down here. You know that when you're being approachable, you can go, hi, do come in. Would you like a cup of tea, in the approachable voice of the heart? And when you want to get large groups enthused and get them standing up on their feet, you do the ping and the head voice. So, ladies and gentlemen, I feel, are we ready for our first of the 4 speakers tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, take a seat. Because I would like to introduce you a marvellous man by the name of Matthew Black. Matthew, put your hands together.
Okay. I wanted you to save your applause to the end because I don't know how good it's going to be. I've judged my performance on your end. So here today, I want to talk to you about how to win. So I know a little bit about this subject. So to put it in context, I started my first company when I was 17 and I sold it when I was 19. I went to help a few other companies double and triple their income, sell their companies. I went to start my own telecoms company and got that up to a pretty good level. It was the #1 in Asia Pacific. Started a satellite company, went to Silicon Valley, helped some of the main brands you might know, like Microsoft, like Google, Yahoo, and a host of other companies you wouldn't know. And I helped them be successful and money to go online. So that's one kind of success. So I'm actually writing a book, and I bet you can guess the title, How to Win, a guide to your best year ever and other awesome stuff. And I hope you don't mind if I ask you a few questions to help me in the process, because I'm on the 2nd chapter, it's looking good, but always do this in real life help. So I've got one type of success, or some knowledge about one type of success. But success means a lot of different things to different people. So what does kind of success mean to you guys? What does winning mean to you? Does anyone want to tell me what winning means to them?
Being able to have exactly the lifestyle I want.
Yeah, the lifestyle
Which
you
I can
want.
monetize.
Yeah, okay. Monetize. Okay, that's fine. No worries. Anybody else?
Being able to keep all the balls in the air. I run a business and I've got a 3-year-old, so
Got it.
it's a struggle.
So, you know, managing your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your version of winning your life, right? John?
I think it's achieving a realistic goal.
Achieving a goal? Yeah, could be, absolutely. There's no wrong answers, mate.
Being proud of what I was able to achieve and,
Looking back and being proud of what you've done, absolutely. I think
and
everybody
making
wants to do-
other people proud.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to do almost all of that. Has anybody else got something different, a version of their own, when they look at winning in life?
I would say being successful and maintaining my integrity.
Yes, what does successful mean to you?
Well, it means being successful financially and in my business,
Okay.
but maintaining certain integrity and balance, basically.
Sure. So winning at business,
Yeah.
but doing it your way.
Yeah.
No.
You know, financial independence and being able to set up something to help other people as well.
Totally. I mean, there's no wrong answers, right? So I can't get it. Yeah, Jane, last one.
Finding the way to give back.
Yeah, absolutely. For a lot of people, giving back is their version of winning. So being in a position where you can give back, absolutely. So there's a lot of different versions of succeeding, and I heard a couple of people talk about goals and managing their life and that kind of stuff. And goals is actually a really important part of it. But you know, having goals and having these kind of things that you want to do in life is important. But wanting stuff and achieving stuff Actually, there's a difference there, right? Would you agree that there's a difference between wanting to manage a business and wanting to give back and wanting to be in business and have integrity and actually doing it? Whoops, sorry, I'm going a bit far. So there's a gap. So there's how do we get to there? How do we go on the road to success, on the road to happiness, or the road to achievement? There's that. So what if there was like a formula? You know, people talk about this. There's a lot of stuff in the world. There's a lot of people talking about how to be successful, how to get what you want in life. But nobody's really said to me, I don't know if anybody said to you, how to actually do it. How exactly do I go from where I am now to what I want in life? Do you know, I think part of the problem is actually people don't really know or understand how it actually all works. It's one of the things that I've discovered in 30 odd years of business and being reasonably successful in that area, it kind of transposes into other areas of my life. And one of the things I've come to discover is people don't understand the relationship of time versus money. People think they're chasing money, success in that sense, but what they're really chasing is more time. If you had more time, managing business would be easy. If you had more time, you could have the lifestyle you want. If you have more time, you can spend more time giving back. Actually, the way that we exchange our time that we have, that goes every second, every moment that we lose that time, how we spend that time, is actually directly proportional with the income that we have. And that in proportion is directly proportional to the spare time that we have. Do you get that? So people talk about being in business because they want to uncover more income. They want to unlock that secret of success. They exchange employees for their time to give them a little bit of money and help them make more money. Yeah? But what you really need more time. So big businesses and big people that are really successful do things like make a virtual product, make a bit of software that 10 million people buy, make an app that millions of people buy, and they make millions and millions of pounds because they don't put very much time into it, but a lot of people put a lot of money into it. So that's one kind of way to do it. But I kind of like the idea that the Lama has. For me, it's kind of like a little bit softer, wetware, that's what I call it. So the idea is that the Dalai Lama says that you have everything that you want already. You have everything that you need already. You just have to believe it. So, tell you a little story. When I was quite young, I come from quite a poor background. If you haven't already guessed it, I'm Australian. So I come from the outback. And I was born and raised in the outback, and hopefully my timing's any good, a little photo of my country will pop up shortly. And it's really everything you think of when you think about television. Absolutely arid, absolutely desolate. And for me, I think that actually points to some of the success I've had in the past because of the type of people that live in that environment. They have a kind of sense of inner kind of confidence. They have to be independent. And the reason is that literally you walk across the road of my house and you could walk for 1,000 kilometres and not hit a stick in the ground. That you would die if you did that. You can't do that in the city. In fact, you probably couldn't do it in England if you tried. It's a house of different. So there's something different there. So there's something different about living in this kind of country. And it's the kind of psychology of that there's kind of no backup. That you're on your own. That what you make is what you get. You have to eke out a living in a harsh environment. You have to plan ahead. And that makes me think about time. In fact, they call Australia, one of the things they call Australia is the timeless country. There's a sense of age about it. In fact, the Australian continent is actually supposed to be one of the oldest landscapes in the world, unchanged, since right at the beginning of this place. And it's certainly pretty flat in some areas, and that probably says a lot about it as well. But, you know, there's a sense of timelessness that the people have there, that, you know, that the country folk have. You ever met a country person grew up in the country, and they kind of talk really slow, and they're pretty relaxed? versus the person that lives in the city and they're like, like this all the time. You know, it's modern society, and it's kind of our modern way of living that we are something, you've heard the phrase time poor. Time poor. How do we become time poor? When time is what we really are looking for in our lives. And ultimately you look at it, that's exactly what we want. What would you give for an extra hour at the end of your life, or an extra year? What would you give to spend with a child or a car an extra hour with them? Oh, it's unbelievable when you think about that. What's that time worth? Everything for me personally. So time in perspective at the right time, the right moment, is worth an amazing amount. And yet what do we actually spend our time on? If we're committed to being successful, we're committing to giving back to people, we're committing to run a business and make profit, how much time do you spend on television? How much time do you spend on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, or attending events like this? No offense. I'm hoping you get some value out of tonight. And if anything, I want you to take away is that thinking above what everybody else is thinking is what it takes to get what you want. Thinking above the needs of the moment. I need to answer my email, I need to do this, I need to do that. People live in the moment for the most part that I've ever seen. People who I work with in business and startups, they're enthusiastic, they're mindful of what they're doing now. They've got a big, strong pull of a goal in the future, but they live into the moment. And I see people do that all the time. So thinking above what you're doing right now, thinking above that, is how you think above the crowd. It's how you think above your situation and how you start to think, how am I exchanging my money for time? How am I, creating my goals? How am I moving towards those? Is this the life that I want? Can't make it go any faster. So there's pretty much the last slide is something that relates back to Australian people. So I grew up in a very small community, and I grew up predominantly with Aboriginal people that I lived with. And I learned, because I'm an artist, I learned a lot of the Aboriginal art as well. And I learned a lot about their history and culture. And one of the things that's really interesting to me, because for most of my life, adult life, I've lived in the big city, the big capital city in West Australia. I lived in San Francisco, I've been to LA, I've lived in a lot of big cities, and then home in London, the world city, the metropolis. And what's kind of interesting to me is that one of the most primitive cultures in the world, like the nomadic, they don't have, up until just a few, not very many years ago at all, no metal tools, they had nothing by comparison what we would call civilization. Yet they spend all of their time with their children, their family. They're not time poor in any way, shape or form. Their life is simple. This is some of the examples of symbology. The words they have in their language, the things that they concentrate on is, if you ever know, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is satisfying the lower elements, which is, my needs for food and shelter and safety and the rest. And then the rest of our time, once they're sorted, is on love and affinity and community and thinking about myself and my place in the world. It's really interesting that one of the most primitive cultures in the world has what so many people in the first world, with money and the trappings of success, that they just don't have, and they, for some reason, just can't get. The more successful they become, the bigger the company gets, or the more demands on their time, and they end up losing what they're actually chasing, which is more time to do exactly what they want. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I think if this slide is going to work, there'll be my final slide, which is my wisdom for today. It's Kung Fu Panda, one of my heroes. Yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, but today is a gift, and that's why it's called the present. Thank you very much.
Super. I'm going to let John introduce himself to you. He and I were in the world of neurolinguistics, trained by the same person, so we've had a lot of conversations with the similar language coming. So I'm going to leave you now with John. I shall talk to John.
David, before I got up here, I've got to say, I was envious of you. Yes, very much so. Because I thought to myself, there you are looking at all these lovely people, and I've seen it for myself now. You're a great bunch of folks.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Thank you so much indeed. Thank you so much for turning out tonight. It's been a lot of hard work on our part, and I hope we pay you back tenfold. I'm John White. I'm a certified coach and a practitioner in the study of what works. My ideal clients are small to medium businesses and the performing arts. They typically have challenges along the lines of going around in circles, banging their head against the wall, or can't see the wood, the trees. What they get from me is clarity. I'm able to put them where they need to be, and by coaching and perhaps using some techniques, we get to who they are, their identity, and we unwrap their unique talents and gifts. That puts them in a much better place. Also, what comes to mind for me is a quote, and I feel it needs to be read out in its entirety. It's quite short, and it's by a lady called Marianne Williamson. You may have heard somebody else come out with this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you? Who are you not to be? It's like Shakespeare's Hamlet, to be or not to be. And if you think about the black and the white, and you mix those colours together, you get a particular shade of grey. And grey is seen as wisdom and knowledge. I mentioned earlier the performing arts. There's a company out there called Surviving Actors, formed by actors to help actors in the industry. A couple of years ago, I participated in a workshop and in an exhibition in the exhibition hall. However, time ran out on me. Keen to nail it this time, this year I went back with the second part of the workshop. The subject matter was about how to put yourself into a peak state, anytime, anywhere, any place. Running up to the workshop, on social media, rumours were abound about the subject matter and how negative it would be. This cascaded itself into the workshop as the attendees were coming in, over 40 actors. They were getting given a handout, and the idea was to take this as a group exercise instead of a demonstration. I say it cascaded into the room because all of a sudden I heard comments of, I want a demonstration. I want a demonstration. How about a demonstration? So, big believer in customers always right. The gauntlet was lifted. Long to short, I worked with an actress who had a fear, a profound fear of auditions. We took her through the process, and afterwards, the spotlight of the attendees fell on her. And they did nothing but ask her questions around the experience that her and I'd taken her through. What value did she get from it? Well, her answer was she no longer feared auditions. And in fact, she was looking forward to the next one. Give you another example about this. A good friend of mine works in the IT industry. He hated his current employer, but he was suffering so much because he was terrible, or thought he was, at interviews. We used the same technique on him, so he went from the darkness to the light, went in for the interview, and he's still in the job to this day. I think now would be the great time to say that I'd like to give a demonstration on something that you will get value from. That's my intent, my positive intent. It is an NLP technique. However, before I go any further, there may be people in this audience who think NLP is bunkum. Well, I say to those people, suspend your belief. I have to put it on the coat hanger over there. Because you're going to get an opportunity to make up your own minds. So the technique will give you a more compelling future. So first and foremost, let's all stand up. And I'd like you to, each and every one of you, to give yourself enough space so it will accommodate your outstretched arm. So I don't want people poking each other. Thank you so much. Now, have you all got enough room? Okay. I'm going to ask you all 2 questions. First question is, and I don't want you to vocalise the answer. Suspend belief, just go with the flow. I want you to point. Where is the past? Thank you. Where is the future? Thanks very much indeed. Please sit down. Each and every one of us all sees time in one of 2 ways. The most 2 common patterns I spoke of are in-time people and through-time people. And once we know how we view time, we can get a more compelling future. I'd just like to ask these 2 people here if you get up, because you demonstrated idyllically for me. One was an in-time person and another a through-time person. Please come here. It won't hurt, I promise you. You can just see what a lovely audience they are. Thank you so much indeed. I'm just going to run through quickly the tendencies of in-time people. They tend to be creative, efficient at multitasking, engrossed in the current experience, you feel your emotions very strongly, you're good at living in the moment. You prefer to keep your options open. You're spontaneous and unlikely to plan far ahead. Now that's the people who have got time running through them. People who see time in front of them are able to keep their emotions separate from events. You're conscious of turning up to appointments on time. You display a strong awareness of past and future events. You're goal-orientated. You're good at planning activities. You have difficulty living in the now. And last but not least, you're very aware of the value of time. So thank you very much indeed. Please give these people a round of applause. So, David's just given me the nod from the back of the room. Thank you so much for that, David. I'm now going to take you through this timeline exercise of creating a better future. You can all remain seated, be happy to know. I want you to find somewhere quiet and relaxed and design your goal. I'm not expecting you to design a goal now. You might want to think about how you're going to plan your journey home. Then, if you want to close your eyes, do so. If you don't, it's entirely up to you. I'd like you to float above your timeline so that you can see your past and future stretching out below you. Still above your timeline, float forward along your timeline until you're over the time by which you want to achieve your goal. Turn back and look back to the now and allow all the events along your timeline to align so that they support your goal, noting any actions you may have to take along the way. Last but not least, in your own time, just come back into the room and float back down to your present. Are we all back? Thank you. Well, just to sum up, if you're curious about one-to-one coaching and interested in a free coaching session, come and talk to me. If you're curious about anchoring and putting yourself into a peak state anytime, any place, anywhere, come and talk to me. If you're interested, or curious, I should say, about timelines and travelling in time to improve your life, come and talk to me. Because I'm running 2 workshops. One's on anchoring, one's on timeline in central London during this month of October. Sign up with me tonight and I will offer you a 40% discount on the workshop price, giving you a saving of £50. Better still, bring along a friend and I'll give them an even deeper discount. But to put the icing on the cake, come along, and if you do not get what I call value for money, value or return on your investment, I will give you a no quibble money refund, guaranteed. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to sum this up by saying I've found you to be a fantastic audience to work with. Please, once more, on your feet, all of you, put your right hand in the air, like that for me, and give yourselves a pat on the back. You deserve it. Well done.
Well done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Another big, warm round of applause, please, for John White. For the past 4 months, we've been calling John White the man of metaphor, and he's got a great. He's the man who says, well, it's a bit light all the time about everything we've been talking about. And I'm glad he got a metaphor about a coat hanger in there for you this evening. Time would appear to be the theme, certainly the first half of our event tonight. And I remember when I used to work as a subcontractor for another company, that the chap that I was working with used to do full days trainings in double headers with another coach, and he turned to me and he said, and well, bless him, he said, you know, You're a very good voice coach, I can tell, because there's something of the Time Lord about you, he said. And I took that as an extreme compliment at the time, and still do. So I like to think I've got something of the Time Lord about me as I stand in front of you here. What I'm going to ask now is, would you like to recharge your glasses? Would you like to take a couple of minutes to nip to the loo? We have 2 more speakers for you. How's everyone? May I ask what's sort of been resonating for people from what you've been listening to in the first half of the event? What sort of resonated most in your mind whilst listening and whilst you've been having a chat?
Time.
Don't waste your time.
Yep.
Don't waste your time.
Collaborate, I promise you.
Super. So are you ready for 2 more brilliant speakers? Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Fantastic. Then, without further ado, I'm going to let the next speaker introduce himself to you and tell you all about his business. His name is, and put your hands together for Peter Brady.
Hi everybody, my name is Peter Brady and I'm CEO of Orbital Media, which is a social media and digital marketing agency. Orbital Media tends to work with corporate clients in a variety of sectors, both nationally and internationally, delivering social media and digital marketing. I think the clients we tend to encounter tend to have a key thought in the back of their mind whenever we meet them for the first time. That is, how can we grow sales using social media and digital marketing activity without destroying my business and losing my job? Is that something any of you have been curious about during this age of social media? Good. So what I'm going to do is to give you a 3-part potted history of how my business developed, which will give you some insights into how social media and digital marketing can be delivered safely and effectively. So part 1. Back in 2003, very shortly after my father died, I was stuck in a job I wasn't particularly enjoying very much, doing laborious internal rates of return calculations and spreadsheets. Fascinating stuff. It was during this time that I had a bit of an epiphany. I love technology, I was really interested in technology and I wanted to really explore it further. So I researched the tech sector and I developed a variety of business plans. Chucked in my job and I taught myself to code, and then I built some blogs. There was a long queue of people who really thought I was crazy. There was a couple of people who actually really believed in me and thought, this has got some legs and this has got a good idea, and really supported me. There's actually a couple of guys here today who were very supportive in those early days of developing my business, and totally grateful for their help. So from those early days of developing and building blogs and teaching myself to code, we hit a fairly sharp upward trajectory, and within 18 months we had a network of blogs which was producing close to 1 million visitors per month. All good so far. Problem was that I needed to accelerate the process of monetizing what I built. So I started crazily experimenting with advertising platforms, e-commerce platforms, and integrating them into my blogs in the hope that this could really transform business and start generating some serious cash that I could feed back into the business and carry on developing what I was hoping to achieve. Which was fine, right up to the moment that I woke up one morning, checked my Google Analytics, and my beautiful figure of 1 million visitors had crashed down to 3,000 visitors per month. My business model had been flattened by a stroke. It turns out that Google wasn't that impressed with the way I had recklessly trying to monetize my blogs, and it penalised my search rankings so that I'd lost literally all my organic traffic and also my business model. So the key lessons from this still serve me very well today in terms of social media and digital marketing is really don't skimp on doing the hard yards, research, strategizing, and really I failed to do that proper research in terms of the monetization opportunities for my blogs correctly, and I really paid the price. Secondly, don't put all your social media and digital marketing eggs in one basket. Consider how you want to engage customers on a variety of platforms and use different methods to attract them to those platforms. That de-risks your activity. Part 2. Now we're moving forward a little bit, but moving towards 2009. We've taken the business forward and we've evolved it from being a blog network into a resource as a social media and digital agency. And we applied some of the unique learnings that we've taken from operating a blog network, and we're applying them to clients like Adidas, EMI Music, and Aviva Insurance. We were happily managing their Facebook and Twitter pages, delivering social media and digital campaigns successfully. But what we were noticing in terms of our data that we were pulling back was that our success, or what we deemed success, was actually starting to plateau and deteriorate. So what do we do to improve things? The increasingly crowded digital environment that we were finding at that particular moment in time when social media was exploding really deemed that we need to try and evolve, innovative, and try and do something completely different than anybody else was doing out there. So for our next campaign, we're working with a client called Infocol, which is an infant colic remedy. Some of you may be familiar with it if you've got babies and children in the early hours in the morning and trying to deal with a crying baby. So what we wanted to do is actually engage mums and parents at the early hours in the morning when they're at the most vulnerable and concerned about their child's welfare. And so what we did was develop a groundbreaking diagnostic tool for mums and parents to actually go online and ask questions and go through a process of actually analysing and understanding whether infant colic was a problem or there was something more serious at stake. It was a real risk doing this, and given the tech we developed was relatively untested and new, and also given the very stringent requirements from the pharmaceutical industry to actually get this sort of thing right, it was a bit hair-raising at the time. But it'd never been done before, and we succeeded in gaining the attention from mainstream media like the Daily Express and NetMums. In its first year, our infant colic diagnostic tool helped grow annual sales for Infocol by 10%. And the technology was actually shortlisted for a variety of awards and continues to generate sales for Infocol to this day. So the key lesson from this particular aspect of our business development was really be innovative, actually do something different, try and achieve something or fill a niche that really needs filling. And be bold in trying to do that. Otherwise, you really will drift into the background of the digital noise that's out there, because there's so much social media conversation, so much activity happening, and to actually stand out from that, you really need to innovate and be groundbreaking and different. And that's really our philosophy that we've taken forward in our business, and it's served us well to this day. Final part 3. We're currently working with for a large stain removal brand owned by Procter & Gamble. We've been working with this brand for the last 12 months, and we succeeded in quadrupling its market share. We're all happy, clients happy, we're happy. As part of a recent campaign which we were asked to develop, we came up with an idea, a very simple campaign idea, to operate via Facebook, a Guess the Stain competition. Genuine household stains, nothing naughty or rude down the line. So we actually took some pictures from a photo archive and put them on Facebook, and we asked some users to actually guess what the stains were from things like ketchup and egg and other things. One particular stain that we put up, and we asked people to guess, there was a very enterprising user who actually went out onto the web, searched the stain, feeling that there was something not quite right with it, and actually identified this photo on a photo archive and found that it was in fact a tea stain rather than a coffee stain, which we'd actually said was a coffee stain. So there was two routes at this point for us to take. One, we could blag ourselves out of the situation, lie through our teeth, and do probably the typical thing that most brands do in that sort of situation. Or we could be honest and transparent and own up to our mistake and just say, fair cop, this is something we've made an error on, and actually try and correct it. So I'm glad to say the second option is what we did, and it's what we've done throughout the business. But I believe personally in authenticity and honesty in what I do, and it served us very well as a business, and we try and transfer that into how we deliver social media and digital activity online. And it served us very well in business, and it served us incredibly well in this instance, because we actually had close to 1,000 comments from users saying, I've never had a brand actually be honest about a mistake that they've made in a very quick and succinct way. Normally it takes a long time to get brands to actually admit they've made mistakes. And it was comments were along the lines of very refreshing, so glad that this brand has actually admitted that they've been wrong. So it was spinning actually a negative situation into a positive situation just through a principle that we've adopted throughout our social media digital activity. So, to summarise, what my brief potted history tells us about delivering successful social media and digital marketing is, one, research a solid and comprehensive strategy is crucial. You really can't skimp on it, and it's so common that when we talk to clients, the first thing they often say is, do we really need this strategy? Do we really need to pay this money to develop this out? And it's always the same case from what the same response from our perspective is, yes, it's absolutely crucial. Because what it does is it actually de-risks what you're delivering, particularly in social media, which has the perception of being so easy to deliver. You know, I can set up a Facebook page and run my business and market myself through Facebook, easy. But it's so easy to do badly and deliver in a way that can actually cause your business more harm than good. So by developing that strategy and doing proper research, you can actually eradicate a lot of the issues and the problems that can arise when you actually come to delivering your social media marketing. Number two, if you want to deliver successful social media and digital marketing, it's really, really important to innovate, because there's so much stuff going on within digital and social media. And if you want to stand out from the crowd, you really need to be doing something different. And personally, as I said, that's a philosophy I've taken throughout my business career, and it's something I really enjoy doing. And it's resulted in us actually developing apps and innovating apps for diverse organisations such as the NHS, very big pharmaceutical companies, FMCG brands like Procter & Gamble, stable of brands that they have, and others. And it's still a really good step in terms of growing our business, and it's a philosophy that I intend to continue as a business. Finally, there's really nowhere to hide in the brave new digital world. So transparency and authenticity are really, really important, and I think you neglect those at your peril when you're delivering social media and digital activity to promote your business to consumers or wherever it might be. Thanks for listening.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Peter. Well done. An idea that sort of came back into my head today is somebody said to me, do you know what, David, the thing is, I'm a perfectionist. And I said, and what I'm saying to you all tonight is, if anyone does anyone consider themselves a perfectionist in this? I'm speaking to you now, all the people who consider yourselves perfectionists. because perfectionism is a great way of making sure you do nothing. Try on progressionism, getting better. Now, the 4 speakers you're seeing and hearing tonight are putting into action the techniques that they've been learning, many of them for the very first time in front of an audience. And one of the things that they would most value tonight, when we finish, is if you would talk to them and give them some feedback about the stuff that they did well and about the stuff that they might want to consider doing differently next time they get in front of an audience. Because they're here because they're progressionists. They're here to get better and continue to get better. And so if you have a few moments for any or all of them, that would be, I'd be in your debt. And I thank you very much for it. So yes, is that okay? Did I ask that? Yes? Fantastic. We have one more speaker left. A wonderful woman who I would like to introduce to the stage, whose name is Jane Whitgift. A hand for Jane. You want this out of the way?
Yes.
Fine.
I'm going for the high-tech option.
You want this?
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jane Whitgift. I'm a Virtual Information Security Officer protecting businesses online. Typically, I work with established small organisations where people who think that security is too difficult or too expensive, so put it in the I'll do it later box. Often this results in leaders not sleeping because they're worried that their data isn't properly protected. Or staff are frustrated because they've had a security incident and their IT isn't working. What they get through working with me is access to a security professional who makes sure that their data is as well protected as it can be. Would you be curious about learning about a client who was able to sleep after 6 months of sleepless nights? I was invited in. The client was frustrated because their customers were very slow at responding. It turned out that one of the staff had been caught by a phishing a virus onto their computer, and this had resulted in spam email being sent. The result of spam email, service providers will block your emails. Their clients were slow at responding because they weren't receiving the emails. During this time, my client recognised that he had a lot of sensitive data about his customers, unprotected on servers. And with these viruses moving around, he was becoming frustratingly concerned that this data might be exfiltrated, and he loses it. I worked with him. We talked about different ways that data could be protected. Charities don't have a lot of money, so we found lots of cheap, easy ways that they could become much better protected. Having done some reorganisation of the data, their data, he now knows that his data is properly protected. He can now sleep at night knowing that he doesn't have to worry about his data being hacked. There are huge numbers of things that we could talk about protecting businesses online. Data is one of the most important things about our businesses, be it the IP that we have, be it our customer data. I could spend the rest of the time I have just listing what it is that you could do. But we wouldn't cover it, or you'd learn nothing. So what I'd like to do instead is talk to you about passwords, because passwords are one of the key things that you can use to protect your data online. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about passwords, then talk to you about, show you a technique about how you can create passwords you can remember, and then talk about other things you can do to protect yourself. Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, increasingly, we're all putting our business online. We have huge numbers of different accounts that we're creating. And most of these accounts, you can't get to the data without creating a username and password. So how many of you have got accounts that look like this? How many people think they've got more than 50? 100? Okay. How many of you are using unique passwords for each of the accounts? How many of you are using the same password for all of your accounts? Okay. So can I tell you a little story? So as security people, we think that it's important that everybody should be using unique passwords. Earlier this year, British Airways were contacting a large number of their clients who had air miles accounts, executive accounts. They found that their air miles were disappearing from their accounts. Someone else was flying around the world on their hard-earned air miles. Earlier in the year, the Hilton was hacked. Continental Airways was hacked. United Airlines was hacked. The hackers thought, I wonder if these people are using these usernames, passwords elsewhere. So using the passwords that they found, they then went and had a look. And they found large numbers of customers were able to go and get their things. That's why you might think that it's important to have different passwords. And I'm afraid we make it reasonably easy for the nasty guys. There are something like 10,000 passwords which are used by 98% of the population. Anybody recognise any of these?
That's mine!
All right. You may have heard of Ashley Madison. Okay. 11.5 million accounts were hacked. There were 4.5 million unique passwords. The rest of them, this list, was in the top 100. Okay? I know that it's hard. I know that we should all have different passwords. Until a couple of years ago, I was using password vaults. And that's great, because it means that you can put all your passwords safely, you can have unique passwords, and everything is hunky-dory. But it's great so long as you're running on the same machine. As soon as you decide, okay, I'll just check on my smartphone. What's the password? Because they're so good and strong, you can't remember what they are. Okay? Would you be interested or curious in finding a technique where you can generate passwords which take centuries to crack, which you will remember and don't have to write down?
Yes, Jack.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you charging me?
No.
She's sure.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a mixture of a piece of special text, which you know, and the website name. Okay? So, what are the characteristics of a strong password?
Special character.
Okay?
Letters and numbers.
Okay?
Uppercase, lowercase.
All right?
And
So-
non-words.
And non-words, absolutely. So it's not a dictionary word in any language. Okay? Probably we can all remember what our own initials are and what our date of birth is. So there is potentially 7 characters that you know very easily. Okay? So my initials. According to Facebook, don't have to tell the truth. My birthday is the 30th of March. Okay? So now all I need to do is think about a special character. So let's say I decide I'm going to put a minus in, and I choose where I'm going to put a minus, I've now got something which in its own right is a long, strong password. But hey, I could be a bit sneaky, because this information is publicly available. I don't have to remember about me. It could be I remember somebody else. So I could use my friend Norma Jean Mortison. Okay? I can tell you that she was born on the 1st of June, 1926. You might recognise her as Marilyn Monroe. Okay? So using the same sort of technique, I've got Norma Jean Morrison. I'm putting in a special character somewhere, and I'm putting in my date of birth. And clearly I can do all sorts of variations, because I could put capitals in my name, lowercase, I can put the letters back to front, I can decide I'm going to do some funny characterization. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can play. What you need is something you can recognize and you can remember. Okay? So then, I start thinking about my websites. And here I have a set of websites. So I then need to, so I'm going to create my thing. So if I'm going to put capital letters in my special text, I'm going to have lowercase in my website name. And I'm going to decide where is it that I'm going to put my special text. And I'm going to decide how much of the website name I'm going to use, because some website names are very long, and I don't need passwords which are 30 characters. So I might decide I'm going to cut everything over 6 characters. 3, 6. 6. 6. Okay? And for those websites which are shorter, hey, I'll just replicate the name until I get the requisite number. And then if I shove in my special text, here I have a set of long, strong passwords. If you go and stick these sorts of passwords into password checkers, they'll tell you that these sorts of passwords take tens of centuries to crack. And hey, I don't need to remember, I don't need to write them down anywhere, because I know what they are. I can work it out because I know what my special text is, and I know what the website name or the application that I'm going to look at. Okay? So, an easy way of doing something which significantly improves your security online. So those of you who are using only a single password, can I suggest that you might want to think of something different? So if we then start thinking about the security journey, did you know that there's a myth that small businesses are not impacted by cybercrime? 74% of small businesses in 2015 said that they had been impacted by a security incident. 60% of small businesses, which were impacted by a serious security incident, go out of business within 6 months. How well protected are you for a security incident? For many people, it's a journey. It's not something which is going to happen and you do it once. The minimum that we should all be doing is the cyber basics, making sure that we are protecting ourselves from the general hack which the script kiddies can do online. So that's things like understanding who your adversary is. Because if you're going to try and fight the crime, you need to understand who it is that you're fighting against. You need to be making sure that you and your staff know what it is they're supposed to be doing. So it's a lot of it is a behavioural change. And then there are some technical controls that you can put in place, some access control, password being part of that, making sure you've got firewalls, making sure your patch management, your operating systems are up to date. As you move through the security journey, then potentially you might be looking at accreditation, demonstrating to your customers, your investors, that you understand and are protecting your data appropriately. So you might be going for accreditation like Cyber Essentials, the new accreditation the UK government is sponsoring, or a more internationally recognised but much more difficult to achieve 27001 certification. By the time you're up here, you're doing security on a regular basis. It's inbuilt into all your processes. You've got security governance in place. For people who are interested or curious about discovering additional ways to protect their businesses online, over the next couple of months I'll be running a series of workshops around protecting data, showing you in a number of areas how it is that you can better protect your business online. For those of you who are interested, if you sign up tonight, then we'll offer you a 50% discount of the normal workshop fee, and I'll give you an hour's worth of consulting in order so that you can protect your business online. So it's something specific for your organisation. If you're interested in something bigger, so you have a virtual information security officer helping manage your security risk on a more long-term basis, let's talk. I hope today that you've had something to help you move towards on your security journey and move towards being able to sleep at night knowing that your data is properly protected. Any questions? No?
Cool.
Okay.
Well done.
Thank you.
If CSI Cyber comes to London, I vote they get a that's for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. Thank you very much. We have half an hour left to play, meet each other, do, is there any wine left? Done well everybody. So please, would you connect? Before we finish, can I get a hands up from the people in the room who've never met me before and never heard of me until tonight? Hello. I'm speaking just to you at the moment. If you're curious, and you may have noticed the word curious come up a lot tonight, but and if you're curious at all about any of the things that you have seen or heard, any of the experiences that the others have had in the work that we've been doing together, please, would you talk to the people in the room who spoke tonight about their experience when we were working together? And if you'd like to explore that in any way, on a complimentary level, I'm very happy to have an assessment with you over Skype or over the phone where we can see, you can make your own decision about whether you feel it might be the right fit for you.